Diablo 4 houses a number of different unique weapons that have been specifically designed as the most powerful pieces of gear a player can own. They may take hundreds upon hundreds of hours to find, but these weapons and pieces of armor offer the most meta-breaking Diablo 4 experience so far. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are the 10 most powerful weapons and gear you must find in Diablo 4. Editor's note here, there's no story spoilers, but we are mentioning the final boss, so you've been warned. Number 10. Blood Artisans Cuirass. The Blood Artisans Cuirass is a unique piece of chest armor that can only be equipped by Necromancer builds. The item gives players 875 armor, but its power comes from just how versatile it is, be it offensive or defensive. The cuirass works especially well in synergy with blood orbs, improving damage output 4.5 to 8% and healing 6.5 to 10% whenever you pick one up. The item's unique ability allows players to summon a free bone spirit whenever they pick up 5 to 10 blood orbs too. The bone spirit will then deal bonus damage depending on their life percentage. For a skill that would normally consume all of a player's essence, this represents an incredible amount of value. In order to get it, players should brave World Tier 4's Torment difficulty and begin grinding through Nightmare dungeons, which should produce 2 items of at least legendary value, with this hopefully being one of them. Number 9. Doombringer. Doombringer is a unique one-handed sword that can be used by any class in Diablo 4. It cannot be obtained until World Tier 3, meaning it can only be picked up once players have completed the campaign. This 500 item power sword comes with a base stat of 350 damage per second, and an added 9% worth of critical strike damage. But what really makes Doombringer so powerful is its lucky hit perks. The weapon has a 15 to 25% chance to deal shadow damage to surrounding enemies, as well as reducing their damage by 20% for 5 seconds. The lucky hit perk also carries the chance of healing players by 100 to 150. Whilst it is capable of being wielded by any class, Doombringer is especially potent with late game rogue builds who rely on shadow damage to take down enemies. It is more commonly found in World Tier 4, however this is one of the rarest items in the game, so you can't be 100% certain it'll show up. Number 8. Staff of Lam Essen. It's safe to say Diablo 4 may not be a game that prioritizes decadence, but in the case of the Staff of Lam Essen, this is one of the few instances where Blizzard combined beauty with power. But there's plenty more going on than just looks. For lightning builds, this is an absolute fundamental. Dealing 4.5 to 8% lightning damage, the Staff of Lam Essen also contains piercing charged bolts. Alongside both of these powerful lightning effects, the weapon also carries with it 9% extra damage to crowd-controlled enemies, 9.5 to 13% to enemies up close, and 13 to 20% to injured enemies. The Staff of Lam Essen can only be found by players once they reach World Tier 3, and is among the rarest sorcerer items in the game. For this specific item, it's worth completing Helltide events and making use of the Tortured Gifts of Mystery chests that can be opened as a reward. Number 7. Condemnation. Condemnation is a unique rogue class weapon, though it can only be found as a rare drop from Nightmare tier difficulty onwards. With 500 item power, Condemnation deals 351 damage per second, which can be massively amped up across a variety of scenarios. For instance, the weapon gets an 11.5 plus increased damage to close enemies, a 4.2 to 8.2% chance of a critical strike against injured opponents, and 4.5 to 8% extra damage with dual weapons. What's more, the item's special perks allow players to combine Condemnation with their core skills for incredibly scalable effects. With the weapon equipped, players' core skills deal 20 to 40% more damage when spending 3 combo points. But wait, there's even more. The weapon also carries with it a 30% chance of a player's basic skills generating 3 combo points, meaning not only are the possibilities extensive, but also recyclable. Number 6. The Butcher's Cleaver. It's fair to say the Barbarian class drew most of the short straws when it came to unique and overpowered items in Diablo 4. However, one exception still stands out from the crowd, and that's the Butcher's Cleaver. Technically capable of being wielded by any class, it's certainly most at home with classic hack and slash builds. A one-handed axe, the means of acquiring it, are more simple than others would be on this list. To get your hands on it, players need to defeat the Butcher in Worlds 3 or 4. Be aware though, this boss will despawn respawn if you take too long or die during the fight, and won't necessarily drop the weapon each time. As for its stats, the Butcher's Cleaver is as powerful as you'd expect. Dealing 168 damage per second with an added 11.4% overpowered damage multiplier, the weapon's lucky hit features a 100% chance to fear and slow an enemy by 40 to 75% for 4 seconds. Number 5. Mother's Embrace. This unique ring is given to players for killing the campaign's final boss. And I'm going to spoil the final boss for you right now, so just in case you didn't guess it, yes indeed it is Lilith in the Throne of Hatred during the Essential quest, What Lies Ahead. What makes it incredibly overpowered is the fact that it can be found in World Tiers 1 and 2 rather than exclusively in 3 and 4. Any class can use Mother's Embrace, but it's most at home with builds that rely on dealing considerable AoE damage, refunding 20 to 40% of a skill's cost if it hits 5 or more enemies. But it isn't limited to just these types of builds and is in fact one of the most well-rounded rings readily available, provided you mainline the story. Mother's Embrace grants players additional critical strike and overpower damage, as well as a lucky hit chance and stat increases across the board, making it a nice and noticeable improvement on most other rings in the game. Number 4. Staff of Endless Rage. With the Staff of Endless Rage, the power all comes from how it's able to tap into what makes sorcerers such a strong class and amplify that to another level. The weapon is obtained by sorcerers once they reach World Tier 3, with the player's best bet of acquiring it being through grinding through nightmare dungeons. With that being said, it more than makes up for the effort in acquiring it once a player has it in their hands. Sorcerers will find themselves frequently in front of hordes of enemies at close quarters, which is where the Staff of Endless Rage's 9% damage multiplier to crowd-controlled enemies really comes in clutch. A weapon built for Fire Sorcerer builds, synergizing with the Fireball skill means every third cast produces an additional 2. Roll all of this into a base damage per second stat of 702 and you have a recipe for one of the most powerful staffs in Diablo 4. Number 3. Black River. Black River is a unique scythe that can only be equipped by necromancers, and only from World Tier 3 onwards. It's capable of performing 1.1 attacks per second, dishing out 350 damage per hit, and rewarding 16 life for each kill. One of the most popular skills with necromancer builds is Corpse Explosion, a heavy-hitting AoE perk that allows players to detonate dead bodies and deal damage to other enemies. Black River was tailor-made for working in tandem with this skill tree. The weapon allows Corpse Explosion to consume up to 4 more bodies, considerably widening the range and potency of this effect. In total, the Black River is capable of dealing 122 to 130% increased Corpse Explosion damage, with a 21 to 25% larger radius per corpse. Alongside making Corpse Explosion overpowered as all hell, Black River has also got some further affixes that will add ranks to the Fueled by Death skill, and inflict increased damage on healthy enemies. In terms of picking up this one-handed weapon, completing nightmare dungeons and claiming the rewards from Helltide events remain your best bet. Number 2. Harlequin Crest. Sometimes referred to as Shaco, the Harlequin Crest has already established itself as one of Diablo 4's most sought after items. So much so, its rarity has led to some players dishing out conspiracy theories about whether or not it actually exists. Thankfully, it does exist. It's just really, really rare, reportedly taking a full week after the game's launch for the first player to find one. But what makes this unique helmet so busted? The item comes with 1025 armor and plus 1000 maximum life, plus a 9.6% cooldown reduction, 11.5% resource generation, and 20% damage reduction on average. But where things get game-breaking is with the helm's abilities to also grant players a 20% multiplier on all stats, and 4+ ranks on all skills. What makes the Shaco so overpowered is not only the +4's ability to free up a player's skill tree, but also to mix and match a build by investing points they wouldn't have been able to afford. There hasn't been a method discovered yet that guarantees a player will pick the Shaco up, but Nightmare Dungeons are still your best bet. Number 1. The Grandfather. The Grandfather was another ridiculously overpowered unique item whose rarity led to plenty of speculation on whether or not it actually existed. But again, Diablo 4 community leader Adam Fletcher has confirmed it is in there and is up for grabs. A massive two-handed weapon that deals 702 base damage a second, what instantly makes the Grandfather stand out is its incredible 60 to 100% multiplier on critical strike damage, with the weapon having a higher chance than most of rolling higher on its other properties. Most at home with barbarian builds, a stat like this has the power of being build defining for any class of player lucky enough to get their hands on it. Once again though, that's easier said than done. The minimum level the Grandfather begins spawning in is Nightmare, but playing on Torment is shown to increase the odds of uniques dropping too. A solid strategy is to track Helltide events hosted across the Sanctuary, allowing players to open Helltide mystery chests in exchange for 175 aberrant cinders. Helltide events are fairly common in Diablo 4 and are easy enough to locate on the map, but they're grueling to complete and all rewards need to be claimed within an hour of finishing. That's the end of our list, but of course the world of Diablo 4 is always evolving, so let us know down in that comment section what your picks are for the most powerful weapons and gear we absolutely must find. I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you like, you can come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm @JessMcDonnell, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more gaming goodness.